Blessed love and peace. This is almost the most interactive solo vlog Medan did in these 20, is it 20? Wow, nearly 20 years. Why? Because it's actually not, but in a long time. Just went to the store, got food, hooray. All right, continuing on. Demons and angels. Again, recognizing kinfolk, when kinfolk are tripping, when it's evident kinfolk are like overwhelmed by them spirits, by them demonic and such, the duppies and further. They're not less than, they're not inferior, they're not subservient, they're not even sheep, to be honest. Not even sheep. Not some docile being yearning to be conquered or subjugated or domesticated or otherwise subjugated. It's a holy being, a holy spirit with the divine spirit of the Most High that is wrestling with what the Most High puts in front of that being. And so it's a matter of respecting that, having patience, and sharing what one can at the moment to help that kinfolk deal with that. So just put that in context, and let there not be any kind of like accusation or presumption or misinterpretation of what we talk about when we talk about demons and angels. It's not a matter of going out and conquering. It's not a matter of going out and killing. Dubby conqueror, what that is, our own self-greed, delusion, hatred. That's what it ultimately is. Just like iti jihad, like Israel and otherwise. So, no us versus them, no greater than or less than. It's all one. So, that said, in this knowledge, in this awareness, there's greater responsibility. We have less license to pretend otherwise. To say, oh no, nobody will see this. Oh no, nobody cares about that. Oh no, nobody's paying attention. Oh no, nobody takes it that deep. Yes, to the contrary of all those. It is. And that's heavy, that's scary. That is pausing. So when receiving, when delving into this awareness of the universe, entering this level of the confluence of the earthly and the spirit realm, and walking these roads of creation with a mindfulness of demons and angels, it's a matter of having some literacy. It's a matter of having some training. It's a matter of having some practice, of having some fitness in our discipline, humbleness, knowing what that experience of equanimity is, of indifference, of letting go, detachment, of just pain, letting go of the ego, focusing on purpose, living beyond self, personal self, living for the ultimate self, the one self, the divine self. All of that is part of the necessity, the prerequisites, and the necessity, the ongoing necessities of dealing with demons and angels proficiently. The short-term scenario is that, well, return with the Most High, comparative expediently. Otherwise, continuing these roads of creation. We're here to be in relationship, husband and wife, to have children, to bring new life, and to teach the life this trod. We describe this personal trod that I am on amidst our community, collective. It is an indigenous Rastafari Eastern mysticism. The mitzvot, the deen, and all that is included within it. But anyways, it's the world, it's the earth. That's what it is. That's what it do. That's what's up. That's who we be. Someone else with this. Going back to the botanical world debate, going back to the world destruction, going back to the human warfare. Here people talk about recent election. Is that what it is? Re-election, election, recollection, whatever. Somebody mentioned about like one of the slogans being "Drill baby drill." That was like 20 years ago. And that mentality though of just like annihilating the earth, like just raping the earth and being belligerent, not even shamed about it, not even hiding it, just like, yo, extract by any means necessary and let's get paid. It's so sinister. Ooh, are we saying names? Are we pointing fingers? Are we making accusations? Here's the consideration. One is the mindset, and it's not just leadership. It's not just the elected spokespeople, politicians, presidents that have that mindset, that are propagating that mindset. It's actually much further widespread than kinfolk like to think. And what I observe is that mindset being cultivated at a young age at the university here that is particularly focusing on science, because one, it involves the science mathematics or a science mentality, and this is not to hate our science. This is actually we're directing this into kind of a logical thing, and it might sound like vitriol, whatever, but just science is detached from an empathy with life. Just generally speaking, and that there's degrees of severity of that detachment or that lack of empathy, and that's actual. And not only that, but science devalues empathic considerations, vocation, policy, and otherwise. So that's concern for all of life, particularly when people are making decisions that affect trees, animals, the environment, water, air, and further. So the ground, the soil, and so we think about what that mentality is. And again, we look at just like young brethren, young boys, taking a magnifying glass and burning beetles or burning ants, and thinking it's fun because, oh, look at this, we have this technology, and we can do this little nasty thing to this bugger, and wonder what's gonna happen to us. And then that goes into dissection of earthworms. Saved a lot of earthworms fixing up the tent today, the schoolhouse. A lot of earthworms in the leaves and stuff. But I remember dissecting one many years ago, big fat one, and learning all the different organs inside the earthworm. And the same thing with crayfish and other types of animals. So it's that detachment. That was life. That was a being. It's not some. Well, all right, I'm not going to spiel, but that's a lot of the mentality that goes into just science as a discipline, as an industry, as a civilization, or as a foundation of civilization. And it's challenging because what occurs is pollution, and in the process, people who partake of this by and large are living in a very unhealthy way. What is being eaten, food, unhealthy food, not healthy habit, not healthy fitness or habits, and then the organs deteriorate, the joints deteriorate, and then expensive medical procedures are cultivated because people earn high salaries and can afford it, high insurance, medical insurance, whatever, and so the scientific medicine rewards bad behavior by providing these stopgap measures to people who behave poorly, treat themselves poorly. And I'm part of that example of being obese and otherwise. So I'm pointing the finger right at myself. I don't have the expectation of being bailed out, but now I can say that as my health is kind of comparatively decent at the moment. Hallelujah, Baruch Hashem, Alhamdulillah, Shishimado, Jai Om. And it's another thing when things start to go bad, painful, and then people are like, oh, okay, I'll get that. Oh, da 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 da. So I can't. I mean, I can talk hardcore right now, but it's little time sometime later on. But um, anyways, um, scientific medicine rewards bad behavior by providing these very expensive methodologies and measures as stopgap measures that do not heal, that do not fix the problem, but just provide sort of comparatively short-term alleviation for the symptoms of that bad behavior. And meanwhile, increasing the cost of basic necessities of healthcare, and including access to very treatable afflictions, because that changes the market conditions accordingly. So, anyways, that's part of the challenge with science. Now, the point I'm getting to back on track is, now we're gonna have to start worrying about battery and storage now. Is the mentality and what we recognize very, very plain, simple. Kinfolk just having a devaluation of life itself, plants, animals, people, other than one's own self, even towards one's own self, like minimizing the experience of like the fragility of life, and reducing oneself basically just like to a chemical compound connected with a circuitry and a DNA kind of fusion signal or whatever, essence, evaporated um, um, extract, that's wireless, whatever, and that's people emphasizing chemistry over biology, particularly because of not even just amount of money and the comfort and the status, but about the power and the value, being valued for being powerful, conquering. Again, it's warfare. So when we talk about the botanical world debate and all the different factions vying against each other, the human factions vying against each other as the effective tools of the plants, this particular realm of humanoids, the chemists, and this realm of science that is away from the botanical, is comparatively independent in certain ways. Humanoids still need basic food provided from plants, even when it's provided from animals, provided from plants. We can talk about cannibals. We can talk about people who live off blood of other humans. Saw something on the magazine. Not going to get into that at this point. But we can talk about that. We can talk about people who live off sex. We can talk about people who live off pedophilia, the energy of children, having sex with children, and otherwise. That's not necessarily all plant directly based, but directly based on plants. But still, some way down the chain, it's relying upon plants. So there's still that reliance. Getting to a point here, still, there are kinfolk who are just very hardcore, power, chemistry, physics, and just controlling elements and behavioral control, wielding power and dominion based upon all the things that can be done with chemistry and physics, and having a very strong antagonism towards biology. And so in that scenario of the people being servants or whatever, or minions of the plants, the chemist kinfolk are somewhat outside of that scope, and in many ways can be seen as aliens because of the aversion towards natural life, and not just the aversion, but the hostility and the antagonism and the detriments that are imposed against natural life on Earth, all the pollution, the disregard to the negative effects that pollution has, the chemical pollution, and all the different comprehensive pollutions. So it's very much an alien force, an alien sentience, an alien experience or being or entity, an alien entity, to the natural life of Earth, and particularly literally with the mindset of leaving the Earth, of like just intending the destruction of Earth, just like extracting the minerals as much as possible, not caring what happens to life on Earth. The intention of living on the moon, and then in transit to Mars, in transit to Jupiter, in transit to outside the galaxy, outside the solar system, and further. And so, not caring and actually intending like the destruction of life on Earth. It's a rocket pad. It's a rocket launch onto the next planet. Whatever. Survival of the fittest. There are kinfolk who have that mentality, and there are kinfolk who have that mentality who are in very influential positions of technocrats, the technologists. And that's not shade, that's not hate, that's just like experience. And there are concerns about that. But here's something that is interesting to that kind of balances or factors into that as a counterbalance, which is this. Again, much of the culture of that type of kinfolk specifically is very intellectual. It's very elitist. It's very bookish, very away from interpersonal skills, and just kind of like masterminding things from a distance, and just once getting included within the fold, then just relying upon the established mechanisms of mercenaryism to get things done, but otherwise just being in very reserved locations, very security-based access and otherwise, and just trying to stay away from the plebeians as much as possible. So it's a very distinct mindset. Now, that being said, it relies upon mediaries. Again, like I said, the mercenary entities in terms of security, in terms of procuring food and sustenance, because still living from the natural provisions of the earth. Construction, maintenance, and production methodologies of otherwise whatever the technology is that's being established as a way of having effect of leverage or advantage of other entities. So there's still that mediary, and that mediary cares less about like the ethics about the collectives, as long as they get paid and do what they want to do. But the thing about it is that the mediary, the mercenary kinfolk, tend to be very carnal. They like to eat meat. They like to hunt. They like, to be honest, they like the natural earth. They like being in the wilderness. And many kinfolk, if they had their druthers, would like be in like the primal stages of civilization, of just being in the wild, and just like, yo, give me a log and a rock and bring that bear on. Yeah, I can do it. That's the mentality the kinfolk have, and that's very different than the mentality of the science technologists, because the mentality of the mercenary kinfolk, the mediaries, is carnal, like kill, hunt, eat the meat raw. I'm a lion. I'm a wolf, and that's very natural. It's a very part of related with nature. And it's very in tune and very connected and very attached and very dependent upon nature and plants. And that's very different from the technologists. And so there's an intrinsic rift between the technologists and the carnalists. And amidst the geopolitics and dominion methodologies, and additionally, that's a very interesting schism to take into consideration. Now, that being said, it makes comparatively little difference. Why? Because we're not even dealing with humanoids. We're dealing with demons and angels. And regardless of the schisms, this and the other, that's less consequence. What's the essential? To recognize what is healthy, and to get as close to healthy as possible, and to get away from unhealthy as much as possible. Getting close to healthy is in getting close to nature, getting close to the natural water, getting close to a natural habitat, getting close to methods of producing the basic needs, clothing, food, shelter, in a way that is harmonious with the nature around ourselves, the people around ourselves, humble, not having things that other people want to steal and take, but just like, oh, I don't need that, blah, 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 blah. Being generous when we have the opportunity, supporting kinfolk around us, teaching, sharing, doing our rituals, that's what's healthy. And that's what keeps us stable and enduring through the storms and the famines, the stress and the static, by the grace of the Most High. All thanks and praise. So that's what we focus on. And there's demons and angels all around. Every day is epic. So we continue in a humble trot. That's the basic gist. To articulate that schism, that for those that have that preoccupation, and perhaps that might provide some solace amidst what might seem insurmountable. There's balance. We are concentrating on space, concentrating on natural space to reside, to be us. One thing I'm thinking about right now is not even going to a government office. We have to identify collectors, and that might be finding who are the largest landowners in the state of Ohio, where we are right now, who are the largest landowners in the United States. When it's a conglomerate that has multiple shareholders, what are some of the shareholders that respectively, collectively have the largest land holdings? And then identifying what are the coalitions, what are like the consortium amongst these shareholders, what are the different holding companies or corporations or whatever that are, I don't want to say colluding, but working with each other so that we can start to better evidence and bring up into the forefront and visibility the effective consortia or the effective cartels of the United States that are making the decisions about, that have their politicians in the offices, have their politicians in place. Looking at campaign contributions is a very crass kind of like evidence of influence. What we're talking about is much further, and it's not to the point of looking up like the Rothschild families and Masons and everything else like that's relevant, but we're talking about further practical, looking at philanthropies, and some of the largest foundations. Additionally, those are we're talking about along those lines, because we're not trying to be antagonists and we're not trying to do enemies. We're trying to find out who is most receptive towards cooperating with us, and then how do we communicate with the kinfolk and share these ideas. We've got big idea for Cleveland Heights that basically involves we talked about some of the things like this, but just do this one very briefly. The campgrounds of Cuyahoga, aka at Forest Hills Park. So basically transforming Forest Hills Park into a campgrounds, like the whole park, unifying the whole thing, and upping the road back into soil to make the forest cohesive, and then make it in campgrounds. Kinfolk can camp. Kinfolk can experience what the woods are. Get lost in the woods, right in the hood, EC and Cleveland Heights, and it's administered, managed, and stewarded by a native council of the Wyandot, Haudenosaunee, and Muskogee tribes. And there are additional facilities according to the prerogative of the Intertribal Council of Wyandot, Haudenosaunee, Muskogee. So almost sounds like a law firm right there. How about that? Let's start up some native intertribal councils that sound like law firms and are stewarding land. What up? Particularly in national parks like Cuyahoga National Park, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and otherwise. Carving out a parcel from each national park and bestowing it to the stewardship of an intertribal council, like Lumi, Pomo, Ute. How about that? These law firms sound on point. Word up. Continuing on, all thanks and praise to the Most High. So here, Cuyahoga, campgrounds of Cuyahoga at Forest Hills. That's just part of it. The rest of it is raising up the waters, surface to the surface level, all the streams that are covered up by roads and Aqueducts bring them up back to the surface, and then trailways, walking paths along all the streams, all the way to the lake, cooperating with East Cleveland and the city of Cleveland. An entire walkway from the heights, and you can go to South Euclid, University Heights, Beechwood. We can further, but we started right here in the Heights. And we're talking about what happens with the rec center and everything else around that, but like focus on Severance Town Center as a multi-village complex. Like have Severance Village East, Severance Village West, Severance Village South, Severance Village North. Each one having a very distinct characteristic personality. And then the middle complex being the intersection where there is the recreational facilities. You can move the rec center there. Office sharing, crafts, education, and further for those villages. People have walk right there. Baseball field can put in the vicinity. Otherwise, a lot of the stores can be relocated nearby to vacant lots within a few kilometers away, or even additional places nearby in EC. And again, intermunicipal cooperation. This is a huge project. Lots of money. Lots of not redevelopment, but just lots of renovation and healing. Because it's a matter of raising the water and taking steps to make the water healthy, that you can touch it and not be scared. Don't have to have these signs of warnings about toxic chemicals and dumpings and everything else like that. The water is clean, and we're working on getting it drinkable. So it's the natural streams, all the natural streams that flow in the Heights, Cleveland Heights. Boom, done. And Shaker Heights, you can do that too. We can work on it collectively. And all the way to the lake. Green space all the way to the lake, trails. And then coinciding village development programs in adjacent locations to these trails. And working with investment collectives, local kinfolk, leadership, and establishing residential cooperatives, village cooperatives, where kinfolk can live together and support each other, and thrive together, and feel secure and safe and meaningful, and be less at each other, having less drive. You don't have to drive. You don't want to drive. You want a car, but you don't want to drive. That's fine. Live with people that you love. Live with people that you love. And be less stressed. You ain't got to go out. You ain't even got to have money. Work it with yourselves. Work out your rent yourselves. And additionally, live in peace. And when you go out, you can have a car. You can share a car. Ain't everybody got to have a car. 10 families, 1 car. Get a shuttle. You got to go to the hospital. You got to get your appointments. Got to go to work. Take the train. Take the bus. You want to go out. You just want to like drive. You want to get out there. You got a car for 10 families. Work it out. Schedule. Pool that car. So that's the basic gist. That's the vision. All things happen by the grace of the Most High. We're sharing this as an encouragement. Now, how does all this get paid for? Blah, blah, blah. What you talking about? Pay for? Well, how did anything get paid for? It's all about making decisions and doing it. You can do it's all different types of stuff. You can talk to the city, what's it called? The civic leadership, and just be like, let's get together. Boom, boom. People are on this. We need it. Blah. Make it done. You can do the whole basic conventional thing of what's it called, bonds and otherwise. How are you gonna make this new stadium and this, that, and the other? How are you gonna pay for that? Come on, now, don't give us that. Now, if you need this and whatever, how about this? You go to the United Nations. Go to the United Nations Environment Program. Go to UNESCO, and they'll be like, we got this thing going on. Let's make it happen. We got capital, we got connects, we got legitimacy. Boom, we got the vision, we got cooperation, we got coalition, we got details and blueprints, blah blah. Here's a blueprint, a format for other municipalities. Let's make it happen. 5-year plan. It ain't even got to be long. It's concentrated. You get numbers, get kinfolk on, done. God willing. All things by the grace of the Most High. It don't have to be a 20-year plan. It don't have to be a 10-year plan. Organize and direct employment, direct training into these skill sets and employ people to do that. You can provide the compensation of having a residence in one of the residential co-ops. That's strong motivation to get it done, and quality. Knowing you're going to live there for the next 20, 50 years. Children, grandchildren going to be seeing your work. Yeah, I put this together. We did this. Not even just pride, peace. You can like look at your ancestors and say, we cleaned the water for our children. Our children can walk in the water again. Our children know what the trees are. So it's always a doing it. And one way, it's eventually however the motivation gets done. Whether it's proactive, whether it's a light, or whether it's just like after the aftermath. The important thing for the kinfolk with a mindfulness is, again, just focusing on the healthy as much as possible. Focusing on the healthy. How about this? I got the healthiest late night run to the store. It's bread. I don't think it's vegan, to be honest. I think there's milk in here. We're working on that. It's better than the naan, though. The naan was vegan. It's pseudo naan, and that's not shade on it, but contains wheat, soy milk, and hazelnuts. Sugar, grain vinegar, soy, whey. I guess that's it. Soy lectins. That's not it. Whey. That's what it is. That's the last ingredient, but it's not vegan. So, but at the moment, this is what's available. Generally speaking, I can look into see if there's another version, something similar to this that has some type of appetizing quality to it. So, other than this, we got fruit. We're working on organic though. Organic. How about that? Healthy. So, working on a co-op still again because we need to supply ourselves with these healthy. Still continuing with the World Matriarch Study Program, making progress in this respect. Outline is completed. We're working on filling the outline with some details and putting into a workbook so that it is replicatable, meaning that kinfolk can just have the workbook. Kinfolk, sister particularly, can simply have the workbook and just read the workbook, and it's a script. And the leadership, people who convene it, depending on people's leadership styles. Some people do it off the cuff and want to like just articulate themselves, speak extemporaneously. Some people just want to stick to the script and just like it's easier, don't have to stress about it, it's already done. That's what we're making available so that people don't have to like put forth a further effort. What I said before about not making the women work excessively because the women got enough things to do, right? Kinfolk challenge us about what does a man do when telling women what to do? Matriarch, sister and brethren, respect, appreciation. But this is the thing: we're not telling sister how to be matriarchs. We're providing the tools that are of literacy that are needed by matriarchs, literacy of the world. So it's like giving sister recipes for, and literally, we're not throwing recipes specifically in there. We're giving food, dishes, and categories additionally. But it's similar to giving a recipe, and sharing how to make certain dishes or whatever. People say, how's the man going to tell a woman how to do? We're giving the information. We're giving the knowledge. We're sharing the knowledge. And it's very necessary, it's very needed, it's very beneficial for sister to have it in assuming these roles of matriarchs, to work with each other, to have a foundation of mutual respect, to know each other's stories, to be able to share that with each other's children, one's own children, and then be respectful and knowledgeable about the histories and backgrounds of other children. So anyways, that's what we're doing, that's what we share. That's what we're continuing to cultivate by the grace of the Most High. And we're going to wrap it up with this. So we're going to check out what's online at the moment. We're online for the next 24 hours thereabouts. So, and there's things on the agenda. We give all thanks and praise to the Most High Elohim. Blessed love and peace in Rastafari.